Okay, hello everybody. Yeah, you are now muted, so will probably, it'll be a bit difficult for us to communicate, but if you have any questions, you are welcome to write in the chat. Maybe I'm not, it's not very easy for me to read them, but so we have moderator Milda and she will moderate the chat. And Milda, if you see that I must stop and answer the question or show something more precisely, so you please turn on the microphone and tell me that, okay? Because it's quite complicated to react immediately. Yes, yes. So we are. How many of us are now? Around.
I have 60.
Yeah. Okay. So, hello everybody. Labas. Shalom. My name is Aushra. I am not a Šeduvian. I am a guide in Vilnius, in the capital of Lithuania, but also I'm in love with the Jewish heritage in Lithuania. I'm traveling around the country from town to town, from Shtetl to Shtetl, and try to find the heritage, the relics of Jewish traces. And once Milda learned about that, and she said, look, maybe we can, we have the organization that is called Shtetl. Shall we try to look for a Shtetl online on the internet, and shall we do that with all our friends and partners everywhere in the world? And I said, okay. So now 28th of August came, and we are here in the center of, sorry, a little bit, I will need to, yeah, in the center of small northern Lithuanian town that is called Šeduva. It was, it's quite calm now. It's Sunday, last Sunday of summer. It's 5 p.m. in Lithuania now. It is 30 degrees centigrade, something like 86 Fahrenheit. So it's quite warm, unexpectedly warm here, as people are maybe somewhere relaxing still at lakes in the forest, or I don't know, preparing for their week for well, tomorrow, and also preparing for school. But this morning we had a big event in the park of Šeduva, and the Jewish culture was introduced there by Štetl. So it was quite interesting and crowded event here. Now let's try to see around what's up in this town now, and let's try to look for the Jewish traces here. So Šeduva was established in something like 600 years ago, almost 650 years ago. And Jews started settling here a bit later, something like almost 300 years ago, in the 18th century actually. And in 1732, they were granted the privilege to build the synagogues, a special privilege that they could build the synagogue, they could establish cemetery, they could live their Jewish community, like independent Jewish community life. And they also received very interesting at that time privilege, like the guarantee of the king, of the ruler, that he is protecting Jewish culture, Jewish properties, the whole Jewish lives, by the way. So soon after this privilege, about 500 people, Jewish, already lived in this town. They started buying or renting land, growing vegetables, sending them, best of them, to Riga, merchants of Riga or Petersburg. They started establishing businesses, various workshops over here. And yeah, in the end of the century, something like 40 various workshops already belong to the Jewish community. In the later, the community increased, Russian Empire took over Lithuania. Lithuania was annexed, well, let's see, after the divisions became a part of the Russian Empire. Lithuanians and Lithuanians' rights were oppressed, but Jews were removed most of the limitations, let's say restrictions, so they got more privileges comparing to their previous life. Maybe you have heard of that Pale of Settlement. So Lithuania was within this zone, so Jews started coming quite actively to the territory of Lithuania, and Šeduva was not an exception. In the end of the 19th century, about like 55% of the of residents of Šeduva were Jewish. In the interwar period, of course, before the First World War, the community decreased. People were emigrating. Probably some of your relatives emigrated Šeduva at that time in the beginning of the 20th century. There were some reasons, but and very important reasons. So the population decreased. Somebody ran far away, couldn't reach them. Okay, sorry. Yes, so the community decreased. Never after the war, never they started coming back here. They never reached this number that was before the in the end of the 19th century, but still people started coming after the First World War. Lithuania gained its independence. They arranged the life among this various ethnical religious communities. Jews lived quite, let's say, along Christians all the time. Integrated but not assimilated, let's say like that. In 1931, I will give you a number, there were 36 shops in Šeduva. 31 of them belonged to Jewish community. You can understand the proportion of businesses over here. So we are now in the place that you can see, it's a market square. It's called Kaštono or Chestnut Square, and we are quite close from the main square that we started our tour. So that was the place where a Jewish community built their synagogue. In the 19th century, Wooden synagogue was built here. We do not have pictures from this time and of that synagogue, but people remember it was a light green building with white windows. And soon after this, well, in the beginning of the 20th century, the elegant red brick synagogue was built here. It was bigger than wooden one, and I will maybe try to, if you could see how it looked like, with arches, red bricks, and that was the synagogue. Actually, this one already is from a bit later time, but quite well seen. So those two synagogues stood right here. It's the Cheder religious school was built here. Later, another one. It was small yeshiva, a library over here. So it was kind of a religious center of Šeduva Jewish community. The synagogue was, let's say it burned down during the war. The wooden one and the brick one survived the Second World War. You saw this picture, so it's from about that time after the war. So it was like a warehouse of cereals, like grain warehouse. Some harvest festivals were held here, but in the 60s it was decided to destroy it. and to establish a market square. Red bricks were used to pave the roads here, and only a few years ago it was renovated, and you can see that newly repaved. Some trees were planted, and a monument was built here to to commemorate that synagogue. Maybe somebody can try and read it in Lithuanian. Marilyn, I read your question. And that's the synagogue. You see the monument, and I will show you it from. No, there are no Jewish people living in Šeduva now. Maybe Milda will be able to answer more precisely later in the chat. The renovation of the square, it happened during now the pandemic, during the Corona time, like 2021. So it's very, very fresh one. And this monument was built with the efforts of the Shtetl project. So you can see people here are now very happy with this monument, and this square is sometimes called Market Square, Chestnut Square, but well, it's quite normal to call it the Synagogue Square. Yeah. So there was a bar close to the synagogue, and I will show you one picture. Do you see it? Maybe somebody recognizes. Do we have descendants of the family of this man? Can you write in the chat? That's Yona. Yona Yanet was, he had a barn here in this near synagogues, and he lived in this barn with his 4 children and 3 goats. He lost his house during the First World War, and well, he was preparing to reconstruct it, but it was not that easy to do that, so he preferred to live together with the animals in the barn until he is able to earn this money. He was very strange person. He was never afraid to just separate. Oh, Mayor Janet, Janet, I don't know how to pronounce your name. We say Janet. Yeah, so nice to see you here. Yeah, so he was open vegetarian in Šeduva. He chose himself to be a vegetarian. He refused to eat meat. He never was thinking and taking care of what people are talking about him, because to be vegetarian in the like interwar period in Lithuania, it meant a little bit, only poor people didn't eat meat. Meat was showed your like status in the society. So only poor people that couldn't afford eating meat, or if you are traveling and cannot get kosher food, you might declare vegetarian. So this man Yona, he just simply didn't have any particular reasons. He simply ate vegetable cereals, and he never was shy about that, or let's say, and people never called him any stranger. He respected him, and he called Yona the honest man in the world. That was his reputation. He never lied and never tried to impress people with his way of life. Yeah, so Yona's surname is Yonet. Yeah, so we are walking now from the synagogue. Yeah, thank you for answering. I see. Please I want you to pay attention to the higher building with dark brown roof. We will come back to this house, but just for you to observe how Šeduva Labas, hello. We are now talking to the whole world, and then you can say hello to the elderly, yes, of Šeduva from some previous time. Now he's yeah, right. So yeah, so we met some. You see, he's dressed in blue, so he also participated in the festival for families. So that was blue weekend for the families, like picnic, a barbecue, what we call. So yeah, so just came to say hello. Yeah, so we are now, see, we left going to the south of the central part of Šeduva, and it's a little bit shining directly to the cameras. Now we are in the street that is called Sporto. That was the street where Jews used to live in the interwar period, in the end of the 19th century, mainly before the Second World War. So it was mikvah, ritual bath, here probably somewhere around this building. But that's a new building now in this place. And on the left is you see old style, I would say, Jewish houses. After traveling in many places, you can now recognize what you can see the differences between between Jewish and non-Jewish. I will give you a question. Do you know what's this? Can you write in the chat? Off topic. Very Lithuanian plan. Yes, we are now approaching Verishka Street, and Verishka Street was purely Jewish street. Okay, let's say not purely, some 70–75% of residents of the street were Jewish. There was a windmill on this street somewhere further to the right. Yeah, hops, you're right, hops, I showed you hops. Yeah, so it was, yes, I guess, like ritual slaughter, what's to say, slaughterhouse also on this street. And now just few houses, yeah. A few old houses exist here, but that was one of the most, say, important for Jewish people. And let's so you can just see how people live here now. Šeduva is the town of about 2,000, slightly more than 2,000 people living here. So it's and it's called a town, maybe not a city, but not a village. You would, I don't know, insult locals to call it a countryside or a village. So it's a town, a small town. Yes, okay, with angry dogs. And here we are, this is the surviving house from 1884. So it's still from the Russian Empire time, and it belonged to a rich merchant, Wenzel Bloch. So that's these red bricks buildings. Yeah, they're one of the, let's say, one of the main features of the Jewish houses. Merchant house, townhouses. Yeah. And you remember I showed you that bigger building with a triangle roof, pink one. Now it is a three-story building in 1927. Two-story brick house was built here, right behind the Synagogue Square, and on this Verishka Street in the very center of Šeduva, and it was the Jewish People Bank, Volksbank. Have you ever heard of these institutions in the Shtetls, in the European towns? Yeah, so the bank was on the ground floor, the offices, the upper floor was used for, it was rented or just used as the apartment. So the rabbi lived here with his family. The third floor is built in the Soviet time. So the house survived all these, okay, the Second World War, but it was rebuilt a little bit, or let's say the upper part was built. And what we have here, you see, we have careful, I don't want to come much closer. I don't want my phone to start scanning the QR code, but that's about the rabbits in the rabbi. So I lived in this house. Yeah. So if you log on to Shtetl, and you can find these stories told on the web page, in the Facebook page, or even you can find them on Google Map to see where these objects are and their stories. And we can see these are original bricks. I have the honor to touch them. See, that's from the 27th. Yeah, so house is unfortunately not fully renovated, but that's how people live now. It's a residential building. People have their wood like warehouses. They need for central heating, so they need to store their wood or coal they use for heating houses. And that's the market square, you can see. Yeah, thank you for moderating this chat and giving the links, so then it will be easier for you to learn about the stories we are telling. Yes, so okay. Do you feel like you are in Šeduva? No? You know what the rescuers, do you know what we are, what we are looking at? We are trying to look at the doors precisely and look if there is no holes of former mezuzahs. If we find them, then we surely know that these doors belong to Jewish family. Yeah. Yeah, so we are now coming back to the central square. Somebody asked about the Jewish cemetery. I will show you one thing. Not the cemetery at this time, maybe next time, but look at that. Šeduvos žydų senosios kapinės. It says that the old Jewish cemetery of Šeduva are in 1 kilometer from here. So that's the answer for you why we do not go there now, because it's 1 kilometer and it would take us like 15 minutes walking to the cemetery and coming back. But maybe next time we will have the cemetery virtual tour. Let's talk to the Shtetl project. And here you are on picture I want to show you here. Yeah, so that's exactly the corner of the street. You see the street and this corner, yeah, so that was the restaurant over here. Quite shabby wooden house, but very popular. It was the Place restaurant. And you see it has the entrance in the corner, so it's kind of like cut entrance. So we could come both from Verishka Street and from Kėdainiai Street. Yeah, and it belonged to Fleisch family. So Moshe, or everyone called him Moshukas, Moshuk, yes. So he was a man who was always, well, meeting people I see somebody is at the entrance, but probably not Moshe. Yeah, so he was standing every time here. People, Sunday mass, the church. People are coming back from the church, meeting Moshe at the entrance, and who is inviting them, offering them sweets, candies, buns. Of course, that those people, they probably would prefer some beer or other drinks, but okay, they would enter, and actually this quite small, quite poor looking restaurant was always full of people. So Moshe was very famous. Moshe was very famous here. After his death, his son, Motel, with Dvoira, the wife, they took over this restaurant. So that's, we maybe do not have the picture of elder one, but these owners and their restaurant. And this restaurant, it survived the Second World War. It existed up to 60s. And you know what happened with this house? In 60s, there was opened an open-air ethnographic museum in Rumšiškės, in a town near Kaunas. And it was decided to preserve this building. So it was moved there and revived as tea house, a Jewish tea house in the town, in the museum. So when you visit Rumšiškės, maybe one day you might have a tea offered not by Moshuka's family, not by Fleisch family, but by the locals. Myself, every time I go there, I go to this tea house. Even I did that before I knew it was a Jewish tea house from Šeduva. Yeah, so that was, it is Kėdainių Street. Kėdainių is a famous Jewish town. That the street is it's a direction to Kėdainių, and it was also a lot of Jewish people lived here. There were some mills over here. There were some families that, and there were butchers families that lived, butcher shops that were situated on the street. One of them belonged to Leah and Shlomo. They had 6 children. And by the way, they rented that butcher shop. Another butcher shops belong to Judel Finlander and Janker Bruška. I have to just check their names. Yeah. On this street, Pink Rabinovich, the manager of the bank, has their house. And unfortunately, he also had some shops. Unfortunately, he finally went bankrupt and had to live on his daughter's dowry that he collected the whole year. Yeah. There were leather shops. There were like a horse buyer, Moshe Meisel, lemonade stand of Yankel Levitz, Moshe Abraham, 6-time married Moshe Abraham, and one eye blind Moshe Abraham lived also on this street. He was supported by the rabbi, by local rabbi, and by some families, some richer families, but he was also quite famous person on the street. The houses, well, most of them haven't survived. Some of them are still well situated on this street, but I just want to show you the houses, the window upstairs, that the brick building. It belonged to also, it was a Jewish house. It belonged to Wenzel Bloch, the same merchant that we talked on Verishka Street. And this was the house of Helemovich with his shop, and that it still exists until now. So these are still surviving Jewish houses. And this green building is also quite interesting. Has anybody heard the Chaim Golden? Have you seen his story? No? Don't tell me. Beautiful man, handsome man with mustache, beautiful haircut. He was a very strange person. He was this hotel owner, And he was not maybe beautiful. He was beautiful, but maybe not a very good businessman. So he was doing quite bad. And he was. There were gossips and rumors that there were bed bugs in his hotel bag. So he simply burned the hotel. And yeah, wanted to finish his business like that. He also once jumped under the train with the idea to get some, the insurance, repayment, but never received that. He also, promised to pardon himself, but probably never did that. So these rumors spread around. Nobody knows what's the true story of him, but this hotel, the building, even insisted to burn down, still exists. So we will soon pass by, but I just wanted to show you again this small corner over there. If you can see it, actually, we are now just in front, of the sun. So this is Market Square, still there. And if I show you the picture, so it would be exactly from this place. So you see the corners of the houses on the left, on the right, and the synagogue behind. Yes. What we are doing now, it's not probably the best thing that we are walking the streets and talking in Lithuania. It is forbidden to talk the phone while you are walking on the street, by the way. But okay, this is a special day, so we will try to pretend that we are legally doing our tour. These houses are, there are some former Lithuanian houses, and still, it was a shop and it's still a shop. Laba diena. Yes. And it was the the Jewish butcher store or meat, kind of meat store over there. Laba diena. Hello, hello. And we came back to this Laudishka Square. Laisvės means liberty. That was former Market Square. Market Square? Yeah, so you recognize this place? Yes, so I will show you. Oh, look what I see. It's a little bit off topic, but if you can see this black print. Hi. Katita. Our tour. Okay. Yeah. Okay, it was very nice to meet you, but we still have to go. Yeah, so we came to the Market Square. We started here, we came here, we haven't been too far from here. I would like to show you one picture. You see, that's a little bit different direction, but actually the same place, just from a bit different angle. But you can see how the Market Square looked like. Thursday was the market day in Šeduva, so everybody from everywhere around would come to Šeduva. Some locals might even let their children not to go to school, because who would help parents to sell and to work during the market day. So everybody would sit at the window and watching how these horses and carts are coming to the town. People would come not only from around Šeduva, even from Radviliškis, the shops owner around this marketplace would come here. Maybe you have heard the name Skirpichnik. He was quite famous shoemaker and also a designer. So he would make shoes for both Jews and Lithuanian ladies. That's him. Yeah. And maybe you have heard of Gurbich. They were quite famous owners of big shops and had some warehouses around the Market Square. They would be, what else? Maybe I heard that we had some Mirvis family. Yes, so Mirvis was the leather goods seller, Sholom or Shlomo Mirvis. Wood would be sold by Leibovich. Fred owned photo studio, Lifshitz repaired bicycles. But yeah, Shimon Thomas would sold watches and jewelry. And as I mentioned, the owner of a tool shop used to come from Radviliškis and opened his workshop on a market day. So that was full of well, Jewish sellers around the market, and these horses, as you saw, they would be owned by non-Jewish Lithuanian farmers would come here, that would come here to sell their raw materials. Jewish merchants would buy them, produce something, and sell back to Lithuanians on the product. Abadina, police is passing by, but we are just saying hello. Yes, yes. So that was the market square. A little bit further, there is a Panevėžys Street. Maybe I will show you later. We will come to Panevėžys Street, to Panevėžio Street. But there is a house, the third house from here. Maybe you can see a white one, and then yellow, and the third yellow a bit further with a balcony, small balcony, just the last building on this lane. Yeah, so that was a Jewish house also. Doctors, Vitėnas family, well, coming from Panevėžys, they lived here, and their children, that was a quite fresh new Jewish family that settled down here. And before the war, they had sons who became doctors also. So it was quite famous Jewish doctor's family that lived in Šeduva. By the way, yeah, I'm talking about various cobblers, butchers, windmill owners. Jewish were not only these workers, they were doctors, they were pharmacists, they were dentists, photographers, lawyers, whatever professions, representatives. Talking about the pharmacists, you can read maybe Crazy for Culture. Yeah, Nahum Berman. Nahum Berman, young man who, that's him. Yeah, he came here as a pharmacist after studies. He worked in the pharmacy of Goda Bardon, that is situated, yeah, that's Goda. I have a friend and assistant who is giving me pictures. So thank you, Irina. I will just, yeah. There's the shade, some is passing near me, so that's not the host, that's Irina that sometimes helps me with pictures. Yeah, so Goda was the pharmacy owner. I think that we have somebody here of her descendants, no? She survived, she emigrated before the war, so we have her family living, I don't know, in the US, maybe you can correct me. And so that's Nahum, so he rented the house, he rented the flat here in this house. That doesn't look maybe not very easy to see it now. Yes, it's a shop. It was the rich owner, rich Jew owned this house, but he was somehow scared, didn't want to stay alone, so rented the house. And Nahum, he got quiet room. He had enough time for his readings. He was quite erudite. He spoke 5 languages, so he could read books in Yiddish, German, Hebrew, Lithuanian, Russian. And he had a friend who emigrated from Šeduva to Cleveland, and he was writing her letters, telling about the books. So he was really very erudite, and he lived in the house that is here. The street is now called Vytauto. Oh, we have Bermans. Okay, nice to meet you. It's so interesting to see you, all of you here, that we are telling the stories. And yeah, we are walking on. Yes, I will just simply show you how the street looked like. A bit strange thing. Hope the police is not coming. But that's the street. You see, it was the church, Russian Orthodox Church stood at the end of the street, and that's how it looked like in between two world wars. This church was destroyed in like 30s, so it was not the damage of the war. Thank you very much. Yeah, I started talking about doctors. There was one famous, Vitenas was quite newly coming family, so maybe if we find more information about them, so we probably will share with you, but we know about a bit more about another doctor. His name was Paturskis, Moishe Paturskis. Yeah, Patursky. Sometimes we might pronounce it in Lithuanian, sometimes in English or Jewish, but okay, Patursky. So he was elegant man, you see, with the glasses, dark hair, beautiful suit, and he was walking the street. He was educated, he was doctor studying in Leipzig, and he was a resident, medical student after the studies. Yes, so resident, it's called resident. Yeah, so he studied in Kaunas and then came to Šeduva and became working as the doctor here. Yes, so he was recognized here very much because he might meet his patient on the street and might ask about his health, and that would be really very strange because usually doctors wouldn't talk to people in the street. Patursky, however, did. You know, sometimes doctors say that doctor first is the human, and the doctor is the second. Dentist Melman, as Lithuanian version of the wife of Melman, lived here also a little bit further. There is a station, so she lived next to that station, and opposite the street, we are not walking to that far, but just a little bit further. Noel family lived. If the house unfortunately hasn't survived, maybe you have heard also this tailor and the shop owner family who, this Ishmael Noel, in 1919, he became a volunteer of Lithuanian army. And that's quite quite a typical situation, I would say, for Jewish. There were about 10,000 volunteers, like of Lithuanian army. It was 1919, so Lithuania was already independent, but we had a lot of neighbors who wanted to get us back. So we had fights for independence against Bolsheviks, against Poles. There were still some remaining battles against Germans. So Jews, they joined this Lithuanian army. About 500 Jews participated in that, and he was also a member, and he even received kind of award. 1937, he received the award as a volunteer of Lithuanian army. So you can see his picture, his and his wife. Yeah, and they lived a little bit further on the street. So we are now trying to cross the street and enter this narrow Bažnyčios street. Even that small town, you see there's quite intensive traffic, so just let's be careful to cross it. Yeah, so I'm talking about 1937. It was still a nice period when Lithuanians and Jews lived quite nicely together. It was independent Lithuania, but soon after, in June 40, the Soviets annexed Lithuania, and the Soviet government, Bolshevik communist government, came to power here. So immediately started various repressions, nationalization of the properties. They closed a lot of religious educational institutions, and Jews were among these, and Jewish institutions were also among them. So 1940 was quite a terrible year when a lot of schools, synagogues, various organizations, NGOs were closed, and people were encouraged to betray each other, to blame, to complain about each other. So this kind of antagonism among the society members, maybe not mainly refer to ethnical or religious belongingness, but about the social situation, social status, and to start the misunderstanding and disbelief among the neighbors, among people. It was encouraged and even paid for that. So 1940, the terrible year started, and the society was already antagonized. And then 1941 came. June 1941, June 25, Nazis occupied Šeduva and the whole Lithuania. It took 2 days to take over the country. And what happened immediately, the repressions against Jews started. So Šeduva was not an exception. In July, all Jews were taken to kind of barracks. They first of all had to sew their yellow stars to sign them, and then they were taken all gathered to barracks, temporary ones near some kind of small airport or whatever airfield, let's say, and were imprisoned there for about a month. And in a month, some days in August, actually about these days, 25th, 26th of August, all these people, including Yone, including Chaim Golden, yeah, we talked about this, recording about that, yeah, some other people, Hannah Muzikant, I will tell you a little bit maybe about her then when we approach her house. Yeah, that's her. Maybe you also saw in the last story about her that she was a mother of 10. Her husband died, her son, 2 sons died almost in 1 year, and she remained with 8 children, 7 sons and a daughter, and she was working. She had her shop, working very hardly, but she understood that Jews have to leave Šeduva and help her all sons to emigrate. Only 1 daughter remained with her. She was very sad. She was very, to say, lonely, writing them letters, but the daughter and the grandsons, 3 grandsons, lived with her. But then August 1941 came, so Hannah, her daughter Jetta, and her 2 grandsons were brutally killed in the forest Laudishki, not far away from Šeduva. So only 3 families survived. Among these families were aforementioned Paturskis, also Nol family, and another Yankel Cooper, another volunteer of the Lithuanian army. So 3 families, 11 people survived. And Nicholas Karosas, the priest that works in the church we came, the Church of the Discovery of Holy Cross. Yeah, this priest, he decided, he actually was friends with my mentioned Vitenas, the doctor family. He met the rabbi of the Jewish community. Yeah, so he had a lot of friends among the Jewish people, and he decided that probably he can baptize those survivors, 11 people. And he found some God-parents of the intellectuals, intelligent people from Christian community in Šeduva. So these 11 Jews, they started learning prayers, they sewing costumes, they agreed to get baptized. That's how they were thinking to save their lives. So September 16 of 1941, a big festival was held in this church. We're just in the back of this church. Maybe you have noticed that it is under renovation, so we couldn't enter a little bit closer, but I just want, so it doesn't matter to tell the truth. I want to show you one place where we are going now. Yeah, but so these 11 people were baptized on September 16. People gathered, people celebrated. All these Jewish, they became Christians. So this extended their life, but not saved. 10 people out of these 11 were killed soon after. Only Sulamita, Sulamita Noll, the wife of that volunteer soldier, this lady was saved by the priest. He simply, it was an accident that she was not shot together with other 10 people. And the priest simply had a small cellar under the altar and hid her for a few days over here. After he found some Lithuanian farmer's family outside Šeduva, and she stayed the whole war together with that Paluckas family, and she survived. And we came to the cemetery. The priest, Nicholas Karosas, you see he was buried here. And this is, you can see that he is the righteous among the nations. He has this kind of medallion over here that the initiative of one artist and a private person, by the way, who gives these medals to the graves of the world righteous among the nations that are Lithuanians. We have about 970, something like that. That's the number of the world righteous among the nations that Lithuanians have. So we have a lot of people who collaborated in Nazis, those white armbanders and other special units, and even local non-military people who collaborated. But also I am proud that we have people who, risking their lives, they tried to rescue the lives of the other people. So as you might understand, we are about to end our story, so we will still walk back to the main square. Maybe while we are walking, you can have some questions that I haven't noticed, and Milda hasn't answered, so maybe we can answer you. I don't forget that I promised to show you that Panevėžys Street where Dr. Patursky, where Patursky lived, where that Hanna Muzikant lived, where the Bordon pharmacy was. So we are just walking there, some 5 minutes of walking. We see this quite a beautiful Vilnius street in Šeduva. And you can maybe turn on the microphone to ask if you have any questions, any I don't know, comments. I will maybe turn on like that. Ingrid, you can also join us. Yeah, thanks for this help and support showing the cards. And I see that Milda is answering. Thank you for answering the questions. Of course, that Milda is the one who knows probably the most, and Irina, of course, and Živile Inga that also are in our team today. They know a lot about Šeduva Jews, Šeduva survivors, collaborants, world righteous among the nations. I am mainly the guide and also is a technician to try to organize this internet tour and broadcast. So I'm happy that these ladies are helping me to fill all the content. Milda, do we have any questions? Or you just simply want, maybe I will tap back. Okay, sorry for tapping to show you that Vilna Street. You see, it is beautiful cobblestone street, but quiet. There were a lot of stories that you can read on the last Shtetl page. I like the story of Judel Polen. He was a shoemaker. He was a resident of Latvia. Actually, he was born in Latvia, not a citizen of Lithuania. He married a local Jew, and he came here, so as he didn't have the passport, he had to pay all this annual residence permit. So he had 3 children, a wife, and a lot of expenses, and he had to work every day to make shoes and to fix the shoes, and he could earn only 30 liters a month, and it was quite little amount for his for the maintenance of his family. But if you find his picture on the Shtetl page, you will see that it's a very handsome man, looks like, you know, higher class like office worker or you know, bank worker, that he somehow managed to not to show his poverty in pictures. There was a family of Shapiro, cobbler Shapiro, who somehow heard that South Africa is rich of diamonds, and diamonds grow on the trees the same like apples in Lithuanian gardens. So she collected money and emigrated to the South Africa. And he found out that diamonds do not grow on the trees, so he had to work quite much to be able to pay for the ticket for his wife to come to South Africa. He left at like 37, and his wife came successfully in 1939. Maybe we have the descendants of this Shapiro family here. So we came back to the market square, that the former tavern. Maybe you see this Šeduva script. We are coming to Panevėžys Street. And if you see this green V-shaped snake on the like advertising, it means vaistinė or pharmacy. So Goda Bordon Pharmacy was exactly on this corner. Maybe you can find, thank you, Irina. And you can see that is the same, okay, the same street, Panevėžys Street, with Aptieka, or the pharmacy that belonged to Goda. Now it's a new building, and the ambulance or polyclinics, yeah, that is situated here. So if building changed, but the function of this building hasn't changed. And a bit further, the 1-story white building, that's the house where Hanna Muzikant and her daughter lived. And further on this street, yeah, Patursky lived. So that's Panevėžys Street. Wherever you walk, you can see the houses, or at least the places where one's houses, Jewish houses, but it was, everything reminds the life, the Jewish life in Šeduva. And to commemorate these people, the lost Štetl, together with sculptor Romualdas Kvintas, we found this monument with a sad young Jewish girl and dedicated it for all Šeduva Jews. Yeah. So that's the final stop of today's virtual tour. And okay, so Milda, can you turn on the microphone and tell me whether there are some unanswered questions? Maybe
No,
people can turn on
but maybe I make a loud announcement that if you have like a family questions, genealogy related question, write to us and we will try to find it, what we have in our database. Also about the museum, there was some questions. So at the moment we are still constructing it. Like the construction will be finished next year around the same time, and then the exhibition installation will start. So we are hoping to open in 2024, and when we know the date, you will be informed first ones, so that you can plan your visit, or you can think of how you could access. So it's about the museum.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Milda, maybe you can, have you read all the questions, or maybe if you turn off this meeting, so probably these questions disappear, so maybe you can call.
I hope that I was following everyone's question.
Because there are a lot of family questions, yeah? And now it's the time for you to turn on the microphones.
Yes.
And if you start speaking, then we can see you. When you just chat, so everybody is off and we see just ourselves. But if
Julian asked to know how the locals react to the Jewish Museum. Actually, they are very positive. They are looking forward, probably the same as you, looking forward to open it. They're curious. They are interested. They are happy.
Have you had any feeling of being in Šeduva a little bit? Do you now feel what Šeduva is?
Thank you.
Yeah, I want to thank you. I want to thank you because I never thought in my life I would be visiting Šeduva, the place my grandfather came from as a young man. So thank you, Milta, and all your colleagues at the Lost Shtetl Museum and the project. Keep going.
Thank you, Jane.
Mother, can I ask a question?
Sure.
In Yiddish, the Šeduva Yidden were known as Šeduva Pferdganovim, which means horse thieves. Why did they get that nickname? Do you know?
I heard this story sometime from you, like while we met some of you, right, during our trips, and I heard that story, but actually we don't have this explanation. Why? We don't know. Maybe you can answer this question.
Well, we don't have any horses to steal here, so I don't know. The other question I wanted to ask is, apparently there was a Baron van Rop, or a baron that lived in what they called the Reiter Haif, which was where he lived. How far outside of Šeduva was it? And did he own the land where Šeduva was, or did they actually have freehold on the properties that they had, or were they renting the land?
The Baron van Rop, lived in Šeduva for some time, and then he moved his manor outside the Šeduva because they had some kind of misunderstanding, let's say, so with the people, the citizens of the town. And so the manor is like maybe 2-3 kilometers away, so it's not far. And I am now in a construction site. I can see the roof of the manor, so it's really nearby.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question. Why do you think there's a resurgence of interest in the Jewish community at this time?
I'm not sure if I understood your question.
Why is there so much interest among non-Jews of the Jewish community of Šeduva at this time?
For locals, it's important story. What can I say? It's for locals. It's their story as well. It's their town. As yours. It's for them. It's important.
Thank you.
And myself,
Hi, Melda.
Hello.
Hi. I've got a question, please. Thank you so much, firstly, for this wonderful presentation. Do you know which of the forests Heschel Tsar was murdered in?
We think, you know, like the most community, this big massacre happened in Laudishka Forest, so it's 10 kilometers away from Šeduva, so people were driven by trucks there. So it's a community was still there, and of course there were some murders before, but we don't know the names of people who were killed like in small numbers. So it's very difficult to say exactly.
Okay, and
yes,
the other
yes.
Sorry. The other question I wanted to know is the addresses of the two shuls in Šeduva.
Now it's called Chestnut Alley. This place where is a market. Olsha is showing the picture, and I think it's yours, right? No?
Yes, it's my picture.
And
you get hold of
it. So yeah, it's a Chestnut Alley right now. That's and yes, David, you're
not talking about anything very interesting.
Okay.
That's such Joker, so you call him back.
David, do you have a question?
Thank you.
Yes, I would. I was wanting to know if we were to visit Šeduva, let's say when the museum opens, or let's say when the museum opens, how much genealogical research could we do there? Would it be part of that trip, or would that have to be done separately? Request the records in advance and so on.
You know, the most documents we have in our database is from interwar period. We don't really having anything from 19th century or earlier, but
yeah, I'm looking for. I have a relative. His name was Avram Ber Tetelman. He was the father-in-law of Yudel Poland, who you shared about in the tour, and the family story is that one of his sons might have survived the war, but no one knows what happened to him. And I was very interested to see that you had information about his brother-in-law Yudel. But so any information about the interwar period would be very helpful. But I don't know how much could I get anything extra by visiting Šeduva, or is it the same as just writing to ask for the information?
You know, we never know what you would find in Šeduva. We never ask specific, locals about this question. But I'm sure that in archive it's possible to find as well. But we try to collect as much as possible. So yeah, you can write us and we check what we have.
I will, when you finish, I will just want to finalize later. So I just asked the word at the end.
Okay.
But then I saw some hands, so maybe if there are some questions.
I just wanted to ask a question. The Jewish Scout movement. Hello?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
The Jewish Scout movement used to go out to on Hachshara, they used to go to a forest called Rosalia Wald. Do you know of it, and is it far from Šeduva?
The moment this name doesn't ring me anything, I can't. No.
Okay, it might have been a corruption of a Yiddish corruption of another name.
Could be. That's why I can't answer you right now. Yeah.
Okay.
But we should check, forests around. It shouldn't be far away. Yeah.
What's the data club?
So, Oshra?
It's the National Library of British.
Oshra? I think.
Yeah, so maybe what I wanted to finish with. So I would say, remember I started with looking for the lost Shtetl. In my personal opinion, I want to say I'm traveling a lot well, across Lithuania, and I could say that shtetls do not exist anymore. Shtetl is, you know, is not the, well, some stones of the old synagogue or the Jewish gravestones in the cemetery, or I don't know, a building with where somebody lived. Shtetls were something that Christians and Jews lived together. They were, you know, it was a Shabbat dinner, but you could hear the bells of the Catholic Church. You could see matzahs shared among children of Lithuanian families, or also Lithuanian families would be bringing Christian gifts to Jewish families. They all lived together, helped together, worked together, sometimes studied together, had their own communities, but they were in this integration without assimilation. And what we have now there are just some buildings, some remains of synagogues, monuments that we newly built, some inscriptions, some but shtetls probably could say that they do not exist, but then that's why I'm so happy that the Shtetl tries to and is reconstructing the Shtetl, and that Shtetl never dies. It will always, even being quite thin and how to say, sensible or central, it is never broken, and it is going to be reconstructed very soon. And we are inviting you to visit Šeduva and Lithuania with all these lost shtetls that we are going one day to at least to reconstruct, at least to remind to our and future generations what the life before Holocaust exists. So if you felt anything of being and walked in the shtetl, so we are really very thankful and very happy, and thanks for your patience to stay with us for longer than 45 minutes, much longer. So probably that we could say goodbye. Maybe you can change the dresses and exchange the questions and answers a little bit later. I am afraid that my telephone can be discharged, and then also before I go, before we just disconnect, so we just want to say bye-bye to everybody, and really appreciating that you joined and were with us together.
Yeah, and also I just want to say that if if it was interesting for you and you are happy with this tour, maybe we could organize again more around the cemetery and museum. So let us know. Write us an email. Write your help.
References. You know, it's our first time, so we need your comments, recommendations, maybe negative, so better what we should improve and what is bad or so, and we will try, maybe we will do more.
Yeah.
Okay, so thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
To be among these people that we are talking about.
Thank you. Shalom. Shalom.
Hi, thank you very much.
Thank you.